Vinny, sir, it's all yours, my friend.
Thank you for the invite. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to all the first timers. If you haven't been here before, this meeting rocks. Give it a chance. Come back. And we got really good people here. And Eric has set something up very powerful for us, all of us, me included. What a layout. You have some of my spiritual sisters, spiritual brothers. My sponsor is going to be speaking here in a few weeks. My spiritual mother is going to be speaking here. All these beautiful people. Thank God and thank Eric. Thank God that Eric meditates and prays, right? I am a recovered alcoholic, and my name is Vinny. And I'm going to get into recovered in a second, but I wanted to give you just a little bit about me if you don't know, right? There's a lot of people on here I do know, and I love you guys. A lot of people on here has helped me to get where I am today spiritually in a place of neutrality. Thank you for all of that. So I'm originally from the Bronx, New York. Yankee fan, Yankee games, all that kind of stuff. Come from Italian family, right? I'm the youngest, I'm the baby. Drinking and fighting was the norm. I moved upstate New York when I was 15, lost my shit, found my drink, and I let everything go, if you know what I mean, right? I don't know about crossing a line. I noticed the first time I drank, I had this thing that was inside of me that didn't allow me to stop. And I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was normal. I'm going to get into that. And that's what tonight's all about. So, with that being said, God struck me sober March 9th, 2003. I had nothing to do with it. It was not my plan. I tried this on my own many ways, and I could not stay stopped. I was able to stop for a period of time. And when I stopped, I got worse. I did not get better. Meetings didn't help me get better. Um, when it happened, this spiritual awakening, this gift, I don't even recall it. All I know is the mental obsession to pick and use was gone. And it was probably like 9 months later, somewhere in that. It was before my first year and it was after my 6 months. It was gone and it's never returned. That's a miracle. Not my hand. So I'll say that. I wanted to start us off with the best prayer I know. And you ready for it? It's probably the best prayer I've ever experienced in my life. It's thank you, thank you, thank you, God. I wanted to start this off real quick. Everybody knows Carl Jung, right? So I Carl Jung, well, if you don't know, you're going to hear about him tonight. But so it's from one of his books, and this is not the norm, but from one of his books called The Chosen One. And this is what Carl Jung says. Your addiction is not a curse, but a language, a secret way that God speaks to his chosen ones. It's not human weakness. It is a whisper of a higher source trying to awakening something deep in your soul. And it was so with me. All right, let's get into it, guys. So thank God for the recovery Zoom world since COVID, because I got to meet a lot of people, I got to work with a lot of people. So another thanks to God. God is either everything or he's nothing. And if he's everything, he's everywhere. Period. First thing I'm going to tell you is if you open up your book to Alcoholics Anonymous, the first page where some of us may have drew a circle and triangle, I'm going to give you the first story of hope for me. And that was how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. Didn't say recovering, recovered. What a gift. Also, if you circle and triangle, you've wrote kind of like you see on the coins, right? Little triangle, unity, service, and recovery. There's three parts to it, right? I'm not going to get into that, but if you don't know, grab someone that does know. That's the big deal around here. Get through these steps, find somebody to take you through them out of the big book. Also, it says body, spirit, and mind. My sponsor had me right. So another threefold, right? What's this all about? We're going to learn about that today. So I've been gifted back in 2012 with a friend of mine that guided me through the steps in such a precise way, turning statements into questions and pausing and really contemplating. And he also had me write something in the contents, right? And he had me write this: personalized general information is from the preface forward to the fourth edition. A lot of information, a lot of backdrop, a lot of hope, and a lot of cool little nuggets. I'm going to touch on some of them. He said, Bill's story, page 1, starts the physical craving, the body. And the physical craving ends in there's a solution on page 23. I was like, how'd you find that out? So after investigation, talking to a lot of old timers, because a lot of people in the 40s were doing back to basics, and something happened in the 40s as well up north. They started going through page by page, the big book. And when they started going through page by page, line by line, they started having experiences, and it ran across our US from left to right, from north to south, almost like across the country, which was powerful. So I wanted to find out what that was all about, and I dug in. And when I talked to a lot of those old timers, they say that's precisely where you'll find the physical phenomenon of craving. What is the physical phenomenon of craving? Well, that's what we're here to discuss, right? I had to know this part, okay? I had to really know this part, and I had to take a deep dive to this because I didn't understand. I thought it was something to do with the mind. I thought the mind was going to grasp it, intellectualize it. I thought I was going to wrestle with this. So one golden nugget out of the preface, second paragraph, it says, because this book has become a basic text of our society, has helped such large numbers of alcoholic men and women to recovery, there exists strong sentiment against any radical changes being made in it. Therefore, the first portion of this value describing the AA recovery program. So when you see program, that means you're in the big book. And what I found out from talking to a lot of old timers, you'll never find that statement in any other literature. And they actually tried to remove it from the big book. So the big book is the program, and there is no other program in AA. That's pretty powerful. So that told me I have to make this book of paramount importance. This book and other books, other AA literature is great. Nothing bad about them. I don't never say anything bad about them. But this is where I could get recovered. Okay, let's do it. Right? Second part of the preface I want to touch on the bottom last paragraph. If you have a drinking problem, we hope that you may pause in reading one of the 42 personal stories and think. That's a pause. If I have to think about something I'm reading, I have to pause. There's the direction. And yes, that happened to me. So I'm going to ask questions, right? Did this happen to me or did it not? Those are the instructions on how to use this book right here, laid out before us. When I first read upon this, I was dumbfounded. Then it says, or most important, yes, I believe this program could work for me too. That's a big statement, right? And that had to warm up to me, to be quite honest. Okay, so physical phenomenon of craving, first part of our illness. We have a threefold illness, guys. If you read the step, we're alcoholic and many were alcoholics and became unmanageable, all that stuff, right? We look at the poster and that dash, right? If we admitted that we are alcoholic, we have a disease, an illness, if you will, mind and body. So I have two problems. After the dash is the unmanageability, right? What is that about? Untreated alcoholism? Maybe it's the third part of an illness. Spiritual malady? untreated alcoholism, unmanageability, call it what you will. So then I'm blown away. So we read the first forward to the first edition. We have Alcoholics Anonymous with more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Recovered from the mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely in italics how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. Pretty powerful. Okay, I want this. I want it. Sign me up. Here's the best part. Forward to the first edition, the last couple of sentences. We shall be interested to hear from those who are getting results from this book.
Oh, Vinny, you're frozen, buddy. Oh dear. Let's give it a minute here, guys. I'll send him a text. Hang in there for a minute, guys. I just reached out to him. I think he's gonna come back in. For those of you listening to the recording, hang tight. He's coming back. Nancy, I'll answer that question while we're waiting for Vinny to come back. You can access the recordings by going to, we have a YouTube channel as well as a Facebook page. We'll put the links to that. Mary Margaret just put them in the chat there. Here comes Vinny, so we're going to get back to it. Oh, here he is. Vinny, you there, buddy? Hang in there, guys. I know he's in the room.
I asked him to unmute.
Vinny, you coming, bud? He left you in suspense. I promise you, he's gonna pull it over the line, so hang tight.
I think he froze again, Eric.
No, no, Vinny. Oh man. Where is he? Do you see him? I don't even see him.
I see him and I asked him to unmute, but now he froze again.
Oh boy. All right, well, we got some technical issues here, guys. Hang tight. Eddie, what's up, buddy? He needs to top his dongle. Well, Eddie, go ahead.
If he's low in bandwidth, maybe just drop off his video and then we'll hear him.
Yeah.
You know, just an option. Yeah.
Yep, right on. Sorry about this, guys. We did not anticipate this. I know Vinny didn't either. Hang in there. Appreciate you guys being patient. Rough start to the first one, huh? But it's exciting. It's going to be all right. Thanks, Nancy. Appreciate you. That's right. Thank you. It will pass. God is everything or God is nothing. Right on. I appreciate all the support, guys. Let's see. Here, I'm going to give him a call real quick.
He just came back in, Eric.
Yeah. Hopefully this time.
Okay, I see him.
Perfect. You guys have been really great sports about this. Thank you.
Okay, I had to use my phone.
All right. Welcome back, buddy.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, it happens. Don't sweat it, brother.
All right, so where I left off was the last sentence of the forward to the first edition. I'm going to speed through it a little bit quickly, but basically the book is telling us we shall be interested to hear from those who are getting results from this book, particularly from those who have commenced to work with others, alcoholics. We should like to be helpful in such cases. And that tells me a very powerful message right there. They want you to go through this book. They want to be helpful to help you go through this book. And there was a big transition in the 40s because everybody was using the Oxford group and a lot of different formalities. But when they started actually using what they gave us, the spiritual experiences was starting to just be profound, right? So one of the things that I get from that is just the beauty of how important this book is and how important they're making it to be, right? So I get to this place where I'm starting to dive deeper and I'm like, man, these guys, not only do they know what they were doing, but they're making things happen. Like this is helping everybody, right? Not just alcoholics. So that got very exciting. The more I dove into this, the more excited I started to get, right? And the reason why I started to get so excited is because I started seeing results from working with people just from doing this book, right? So besides that, we jump around in all the editions and we get more and more information. But where the information really takes a turn for me is in the doctor's opinion, right? Because then they start telling me about some medical understanding of what I'm suffering from, right? And in the doctor's opinion, he says these facts to be appear from extreme medical importance because they're of their extraordinary possibilities of a rapid growth inherent in this group, meaning us. May mark the new epoch in the annals of alcoholism. These men will have the remedy for thousands of such situations. You may rely absolutely on anything they say about themselves. Yours truly, Dr. Silkworth. What? So in Bill's story, we're going to read when he met with Ebby, he was giving the third component to our illness. But he wasn't given the third component as an illness. He was given it as a solution. And this is what we're going to get into in a couple of weeks. But that meeting with him was profound for me because I had an Ebby in my life, right? So Dr. Silkworth was the first one to give Bill the message of the mind and body. He says, but we are sure that our bodies were sickened as well. Our belief, in our belief, any picture of the alcoholic which leaves out the physical factor is incomplete. So I learned something powerful there. If I have this phenomenon of craving, then I'm the real alcoholic, right? It also says more often than not, it is imperative that a man's brain be cleared before he's approached. He has a better chance of, success in that fact, or to accept what is offered. So there's also that, right? He also goes out to say the subject presented in this book seems to be of paramount importance to those afflicted with alcohol. So now I'm paying more attention to this book. I'm paying more attention to it because I want to know what's he talking about, right? He says these allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all. Again, what is this? What is he talking about? I want to know, right? Further on in the doctor's opinion, he says many types do not respond to the ordinary psychological approach, right? So, what is he saying? He wants to give us something, but he's not sure how to do it, right? We're going to talk more about that in a couple of weeks, but here's the thing. I found out in my own experience what the physical phenomenon of craving is. Okay? In my first experience, and I've shared this a lot, we had a six-pack. There was 3 of us, 15 years old. We're going to do shotguns. One guy says, let's do a shotgun. We'll get the effect quicker, right? Good friend of mine. So we all 3 do shotguns. Oh my God, this is awesome, right? So 3 of us, do the math. We all got to do 2. One person hates the taste of it, doesn't want it anymore. Guess what happened? I'm fighting the other guy for the 3rd one. Why am I fighting the other guy for the 3rd one? Because after 2, something happened. And I don't know what it was, but it was pretty powerful, guys. It was very powerful. So Dr. Silkworth is saying we suffer from a physical phenomenon of craving. Once it enters into our system, something happens. Not in my mind. I can't see this. I can't see it. But something happens in my mind. It doesn't happen in my mind. It happens in my body. What's happening in my body? I want more. This is good. This is real good. I need more. I don't want more. I need it. So what happens? I win the argument. I have the 3rd beer, right? I wake up hours later. Somebody dropped me off on my front porch, covered in puke. Just 3 beers. I was lightweight, 15 years old. But I did shotguns, all 3, right? I learned something really good that day. The quicker I drink it, the quicker I can get the reaction. So from that day forward, 2 shots of Southern Comfort and a Heineken. And if I don't feel it then, I get a 3rd shot. That's how I started my roll, right? So, oh my God, something physically is different in me than other people. By the way, that other guy that I was arguing with, the 3rd one, I found him in AA 15 years later. And he asked me to take him through the work because I was going through the work in such a pretty powerful way in New York, right? Remember I told you about the tea across the country? Well, somebody gave me a watered down version of this thing we call the Big Book Awakening, right? And in 2003, it was handed down to me. And my book looked a lot like these people I met in 2012. So I started sponsoring this young man. And he remembered that. And he remembered the phenomenon of craving very well. So here it goes. We read Bill's story. He begins to waken very early in the morning, shaking violently. A tumblerful of gin, followed by half a dozen bottles of beer, would be required if he were to eat anything at all. And it gradually got worse, guys. It gradually gets worse. And then he says the remorse and horror, the hopelessness of the next morning are unforgettable. The courage to do battle is not there. The brain raced uncontrollably. Man, that sounds like me. If you just read Bill's horrors, you'll quickly find yourself. But pay attention to his drinking habits, right? That's what I did. He was afraid he was going to collapse in the middle of the street, right? The other thing is, he asked himself, should I kill myself? Oh my God, this sounds a lot like me. The mind and the body are marvelous mechanisms, right? They really are. The other thing that I learned
Vinny, you're muted, buddy. You muted yourself. There you
All right. Yeah, I'm batting 1,000 tonight. But the beautiful thing about it is resilience and hope. And I got this prayer life that's just phenomenal. But what I was saying was, I thought about committing suicide too. Things got gradually worse with me, right? Looking at the physical part of it, it never seemed to go away on its own. I thought a little time away. I'm like, what's this about anyway? What is this physical thing? Is it just made up, right? Some people believe they crossed the line. And I believe some people actually do, but that's not my experience. The only line that I crossed is I wasn't able to stop when I tried. Let me rephrase that. I wasn't able to stay stopped when I tried. I was able to stop for a little while, but I got worse, right? So, meeting makers, there goes that thing again. I was making meetings when I was sober. They didn't help. I was still going through something. And they told me to try to, they tried to tell me to do all these things. And 90 means in 90 days, jump in your sponsor's back pocket. That was a big one I heard. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, right? But what I learned now is that I didn't have to do that. And I did it though. I'm here to tell you I did it. And he told me to call him as often as possible. He didn't make me make 90 means 90 days. He said, you're already sober. That's not gonna make a difference. I want you to spend time in prayer every day for at least 90 days. And let's see where that goes. But I had a problem with prayer because I don't care. Talk to whoever you believe in. Until we got to the second step, that changed. But so all these things going to meetings, they weren't working. But when I sat down across the table with my sponsor and we held hands and we said the lay aside prayer, and then we dove into the questions of the book, I felt that peace because I felt like I was connecting to something that I never normally would have. And when we started talking about, you may hear it as war stories, right? My sponsor and I would talk about the drunkenness, and he would always refer to Bill's story. And I didn't know how to identify in the beginning, guys. I'm like, this guy, I have nothing in common with him. I didn't drink like that. And my sponsor says, you never drank like that? And I said, well, sometimes, not all the time. You know what I mean? I couldn't be honest. I didn't know how to be honest. I didn't even know what was real. But when we started looking at it, especially
no.
when the incredible, I'm trying to think of this. So when I mustered up my incredible willpower, my incredible choice to say, I'm going to do this, things got worse. And I couldn't understand that. I couldn't understand how far my individual willpower actually goes. It goes far, but it goes far in the opposite direction of where I want to go. This is what I learned. So when I look at the Bill story, he returns to the hospital again, right? Well, let me back up. He returns to the hospital for the first time, and Dr. Silkworth gives him a description of the mind and body. Makes it very clear to him about the phenomenon of craving, right? He believes he is powered up by knowledge, right? And this is the first time. And then he's on his back and he's worse again. And from my reading and my studying and my prayer life and talking to others, I kind of remembered this. I was told that my family has drinking problems. It runs deep into my family. Cousins dying, uncles losing limbs because they're diabetic and they still drink and they won't stop, right? All the chaos, all the insanity you could think of. All the warnings were there, but I didn't understand this physical component. I just thought it was all mind, right? So when I read more of Bill's story and I see that he was given all the solution, right? He even a doctor's opinion gave him the synthetic knowledge that's outside of the doctor's scope, right? Basically underlying saying he needs a spiritual awakening, he needs God. Bill couldn't get it from that though. He couldn't grasp that from the doctor. He heard him, but he didn't listen to him. He didn't feel him, right? But he got the components of the physical and mental, and that was obvious to him because he could see it. But it wasn't until Abby comes along in that kitchen. I can only imagine and picture that story when Abby's telling him about the same solution that Dr. Silkworth was giving him. It was only then that Bill could see it and grasp it a little bit. Why is that? Because it was another alcoholic that was worse than him. He was able to see and believe right in front of him. I mean, it was a saying that Joe and Charlie used to say that Bill would say, if I ever get as bad as Ebby, I'm going to stop forever, right? So here's Ebby, supposedly worse than Bill, sober. Now Bill's like, what's this all about, right? My brother came to me, sober, completely clean and sober. He was eating out of garbage cans, living on the street, living in ER hospitals, right? He's completely sober and he's telling me, Vin, you're my brother. You're just like me. I didn't want to hear it. I wasn't ready. I don't know. The pain wasn't great enough. That's the best example I could give you. But he was my Ebby. He changed physically. He was able to stay stopped for 4 years and change dramatically in a place I didn't even think a human being was possible. But there was my Ebby. And when I looked at him, I looked at what I could be. So I wanted this. I wanted it, guys. I wanted this vital connection. I wanted to understand this physical phenomenon of craving. When I pour, not the first drink never did it for me. The second or the third, that's what kick-started this phenomenon of craving. That's why this first step is so important. That's why some of my friends here, we spend weeks, 8 to 12 weeks, sometimes 16, depending on who you're talking to, right? Because the first step is not a once and done thing. This is a deep and understanding, not only intellectually, but spiritually. And that's what I had to do. I took a deep dive in this. I'm working with 2 magnificent people that are here in this meeting tonight. And they would, if they could speak, they'll tell you, I want to get out of this step. I don't want to see no more because it's a mirror. If it's done correctly, it's a mirror. But God's right there saying, it's okay, keep going. It's okay, keep going. Because there's something here that you've never seen before that God wants to reveal for you. Kind of like what I was saying, what Carl Jung said, right? He whispers. That's why the first step is so friggin' hard. That's why prayer and meditation is so important in the beginning. It's so important to start off with prayer and meditation, not just talking to God, right? But listening, getting quiet. And our 11th step tells us exactly what to do. Precisely. We don't need anything other than 11th step to get down to the root cause. And it's usually my laziness, procrastination. So as I'm growing and understanding this and guiding others through this first step, I'm going deeper into this first step, right? So I could tell you from a place of learning it. I could tell you from a place of guiding someone through it. And I could also tell you from a perspective of spiritually experiencing the first step. What that means to me is that something is changing And it's quite scary because I don't know what it is. And I don't understand what's going on. Right? That was in the beginning. Now when I see it, I'm like, oh, okay. He's up to something in me. It don't feel good. I don't know what he's up to, and I want to know, right? And I choose to call my God Papa because it reminds me of a grandfather I never had. I want to sit on Papa's lap. I want to talk to him about what he wants me to be and what it is that I need to help people see in me or see in them to be authentic, right? And the phenomenon of craving is one step to being my authentic self. So if I have this illness that affects me physically, there's a problem. There's a major problem because I can't have it no more because I don't know what's going to happen. And that's the first part of the first step is understanding that I'm the real alcoholic. So when you get into the next chapter after Bill's story, they go into that, right? There's a solution. And what really ties the knot for me is a couple of lines I'll kind of go over it pretty quickly. Is one, the moderate drinker have little trouble giving up liquor entirely if they have good reason for it. They can take it or leave it alone. And not me. Never was me. Never. And I'm talking, I told you my first story. Just maybe the phenomenon of craving and the mental obsession wasn't precisely exploding at the same time for me to quit sooner or for God to strike me sober sooner. I don't know. I don't have that answer. But I do know that I'm not a moderate drinker. I never was. I tried to be. The next one, right? They talk about hard drinker. He may have the habit badly enough, gradually impair him physically and mentally. He may cause him to die a few years before his time. Makes me think of Mr. Carpet Slippers, right? Man of 30, but not, right? If a sufficient strong reason, ill health, falling in love, change of environment, or the warning of a doctor becomes operative, man can also stop or moderate. Not me. Easy. And here's the thing, I learned the difference between the two because I had a drinking, everybody has drinking buddies, right? Growing up. So when I was 15, I had all these drinking buddies. And there was this one guy, right? He was that guy, the sloppy drunk, fall down. You go out to the bar with him, he passes out on the bar. He's an embarrassment. If you're talking to women, he comes over slurring, right? I had that friend. He made me look like an angel. That's probably why I kept him around, guys. He made me look good. He may have even had a physical craving. I don't know, right? This is what I'm thinking. But he was definitely an alcoholic. No doubt about it. Find out years later, got married, have kids. He doesn't even drink. He's fine. So I learned real quick there's a difference between the hard drinker, the moderate, and the real alcoholic. And then here it goes. The real alcoholic. He may start off a moderate drinker, never did. He begins to lose all control, liquor consumption, once he starts to drink. I told you the story, right? That happened many times. Not every time, but it happened many times. More times than it didn't, right? Here's the last thing I'm going to say about that. He's a real Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yes. He sells me mildly intoxicated. He's always more or less insanely drunk. His disposition while drinking resembles his normal nature, but little. I think that's kind of funny. He may be one of the finest fellows in the world. I think I'm a fine fellow. Yet, let him drink for a day, and he frequently becomes disgustingly, even dangerously antisocial. He has a moment for particularly when some important decision must be made, right? And that was me. Right in the right spots, I would screw it up. The job, the girlfriend, the family event. I learned that I'm the real alcoholic. Once I learned that I was the real alcoholic, then I go back to the doctor's opinion. You can rely absolutely on anything they say about themselves. Okay, so I'm going to sit and talk to another alcoholic. When I sat and talked to another alcoholic, I learned more about myself in the hour I sat with him than I did in probably my whole life. They helped me see me. If you have a good sponsor, he's going to help you see you. He's not going to point out your character defects. You get to the fourth step to do that. You can see that on the fourth column all you want. He'll show them to you too when you write them down. But good sponsor is going to help you see you. Help you see. And if you can't see it, it's not time. God's timing is something very strange. So to wrap up this phenomenon of craving, you either got it or you don't. With any of your substance that you use, if you look at it and you have it, that's what the self-diagnosis is. And if you're a real alcoholic, going back to the doctor's opinion again, I have to make this book of paramount importance. And I have to rely absolutely on what a recovered alcoholic says. Yes, a recovered alcoholic. Recovered in recovery. What does that mean? That means I no longer suffer from the mental obsession that fuels me to drink, that causes the phenomenon of craving to occur. And we're going to talk about that next week, but the mental obsession powers it, right? So being abstinent is just a beginning. And it's hard because if you're just abstinent, if you're a real alcoholic, you're probably sicker than you were when you were drinking. At least that I was, right? I can't speak for anybody else. So God has a way of doing things in weird timing. I'm grateful I'm recovered. I'm grateful I'm here to share that. I'm so welcome to anybody that's new. If anybody's brand new, there's a page in our book that tells us exactly what to look for in a sponsor. Don't just get somebody you think you want. Don't get something that you think they have that you want in them. There's instructions in our big book. And Eric's going to tell you where to find that later. I love you guys.